fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Prime Universe Breakdown and Windsweeper 2-pack from the Transformers Legacy United Doom and Destruction collection from Hasbro. So this was a part of a capsule for Amazon. It was an Amazon exclusive, but it was also available on Hasbro Pulse as well, which is where I got mine. So we have Prime Universe Breakdown and Windsweeper. Prime Universe Breakdown, obviously the character from Transformers Prime, and Windsweeper was a Trigger Con from back in G1. I really like the artwork here on the front of this box. I guess they're in space. I don't know what's going on. There's like octopus tentacles attacking them. I really don't know. I don't know if it's going to combine with other boxes from this capsule. I'll have to wait and see when they come in. But either way, I think the artwork on this box is really, really cool. Up here, you have a Doom and Destruction collection. Now you have this kind of new logo with the tentacles, so maybe the tentacles aren't attacking them. Maybe it's part of their logo, and that's why they're just kind of here on the edges of the box. I'm not really sure. I don't know what faction this is supposed to be, but it's cool. I like it. I'm here for it. Over here on this side, again, you have the same kind of logo with just a close-up of that same artwork of Breakdown. And then over here, you have a close-up of the same artwork of Windsweeper. Not really anything going on the bottom. And then when we spin around to the back, we get some nice product shots of the robot modes and the vehicle modes. And then you also have the two Target Masters that go with Windsweeper, Ozone and Clean Sweep. So there you go. But yeah, really cool packaging. I like this one. I might actually keep this one. I don't keep many of them, but I really like the artwork here. I think that looks really cool. Let's go ahead, get them out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. Here are the two out of the packaging. We have Breakdown and Windsweeper. Now, Breakdown is a repaint of Bulkhead from way back in the first wave of Transformers Legacy. And then Windsweeper here is a repaint / remold of Needlenose from, I believe, Evolution. I think he was in Evolution. In any case, they look pretty good. I think the repaints are really successful. I think both of these are really nice. I love the color schemes on these. I'm going to bring in, their mold brothers later on, and we'll do a direct comparison. But just having the two of these together here, I think they complement each other really well. You have the nice dark blue over here on Breakdown, and then you have the lighter tan and maroon over here on Windsweeper. And I just think as a team, I think their color schemes really complement each other, and I think that looks really cool. Now, Windsweeper was not a Target Master. He was a Trigger Con, and they couldn't really, have spring-loaded guns, so they just repainted Needlenose's two Target Master partners in all silver to achieve the Trigger Master aesthetic. I think it works okay. I think it's pretty neat. We'll take a closer look at them in a minute, but just overall, having the robot here with the two silver guns, I think, achieves the same effect as the original G1 toy. You can see what they're going for here, and honestly, I think the Needlenose mold works pretty well. It looks pretty similar to that original G1 toy, and I think that's kind of neat there. All right, let's break these two up. We're going to start over here with Breakdown first. So here is Prime Universe Breakdown, and if you had the original Bulkhead toy from back in the first wave of Legacy, it is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is that there is a new head sculpt. So if we put these two next to each other, you can see the toes, the shins, everything from the waist down, the thighs, it's all the same molding. The arms are the same accessories, the chests are the same. There's really no remolding. Nothing is different. It's just a new head. Everything else is exactly the same from what I can tell. I don't know what they would have remolded. I don't know that they necessarily needed to remold anything, but it would have been nice to, I don't know, maybe tweak the chest a little bit, or maybe change the shins up down here just a little bit, but they didn't. They're exactly the same. The only difference is the head, and this weapon is no longer translucent blue plastic, because thankfully they got away from that pretty quickly in Legacy. They were like Energon weapons or something, and they kind of got away from that. They both have the same wrecker ball accessory for the arm. They both have this same shoulder-mounted cannon. The only difference is Breakdown does come with the hammer, and I think the hammer was exclusive to the second version of Bulkhead that they did as part of that Wreckers capsule on Amazon. So if you never got that one, like I never did because, I just didn't need a camo repaint of Bulkhead, you could now take this hammer and give it to Bulkhead if you wanted to, and now you really didn't miss out on anything. So look at that. Huzzah! Or you can leave it with Breakdown. It's fine. But yeah, it's exactly the same except for the head. But we'll get into it just in case you're not familiar with how Bulkhead worked. It's a pretty cool looking figure. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this stuff off. So you have this riot shield piece here that can clip onto the back. You can also, of course, clip that onto the forearm if you want him to actually use it as a shield. I swear you can. Just have to navigate around that shoulder wheel. You can kind of move this in a little bit if you want. So you have some options there with the shield. You have the hammer weapon, which looks pretty good. Nicely painted in silver here. I think that looks nice. Simplistic, but looks good. The wrecker ball piece, how this works, you just split this open. And I'll wiggle it out here, but it just pegs into the fist and then wraps around the bottom of the fist. I always thought that was a pretty cool accessory. I thought it achieved the desired effect and looked pretty good. Let me pan this up here. So for this little shoulder cannon, it's the same one from Bulkhead. It's just done in translucent gray instead of blue this time. And then they painted it. And I really like the purple. I think that looks really good. Nice little bit of silver here. I also appreciate that they left the parts with the connections unpainted. So that way, if you try to plug anything into that or have the character, use these two little pegs here to peg into the side, they can peg in right there. So you can shoulder mount it, or he can just hold it. And they left all those unpainted so it wouldn't wear over time. I think that was smart. And then the parts they did paint, I think, look pretty sharp. So I like this little weapon. But putting all of that off to the side so we can check out the robot here. It's the Bulkhead mold, so it's fine. I didn't really have a problem with it then. I don't have a problem with it now. I think it works pretty well for Breakdown, and it kind of makes sense because those two were always rivals on the show, the two big guys fighting each other. So I think it makes sense that they share a mold. The head sculpt, I think, looks pretty good. I like that quite a bit. Nice paint applications there. The orange face, the yellow eyes, the blue there for the crest. All of that looks pretty sharp. You have the windshield wipers over the translucent plastic there. I'm assuming that means this whole thing is painted because I don't think they're... Yeah, I think it's one big piece of translucent plastic, which is kind of a bummer, but it was the same for Bulkhead. So it is what it is. Head sculpt. Head is on a ball joint, so that can move all the way around. Look up pretty far, look down decently, even tilt a little side to side. Swivel here in the shoulder, as well as a hinge. Now this piece, as you can see, it's supposed to peg into the side. I'm guessing it's just mold fatigue with this thing, because a lot of the stuff is loose. Like, the hands are really kind of loose. Elbows are fine. Like, it's weird. Certain things, like these, don't peg in that great, because the way it works is, like, you unpeg this, and then it needs to swivel around for the transformation. So because of that, it likes to move around, especially when you try to use the hinges over here on the shoulders, as you can see. But then certain things like the knees are really tight. So I don't know. I don't know why certain things are a little looser than others, but it's weird. You got to up, see, there we go again. We got a bicep swivel here, but again, that's pretty tight, which is making this shoulder piece pop out all the time, which I don't love. 90 degrees there in the elbow, wrist swivel. You have a waist swivel down here. Hips can kick out pretty far, kick back pretty far, kick out to the side. Thighs swivel. 90 degrees there in the knees. Got that ankle tilt. You got a little bit of front to back, really, just because of the way the toes transform, but it's there. But nice ankle tilt. So yeah, I feel like it's one of the early legacy molds, and, they were like, look at all the things we can do. We have ankle tilt, and, they were just coming off of making that a pretty much consistent mainstay, but, yeah, he's okay. I think the color scheme's great. I think that's one thing it really has going for it. I like the head sculpt a lot. But I also think it's funny that they finally released the original Prime Breakdown toy a few years ago. And then, they're coming back to it already with this. The original toy, I think, is a lot of fun. This one's fine, though. I'm trying to be more excited about it because I do really like the look of it. I think aesthetically it looks good. It's just, this mold, I think, was only okay to begin with. And because it's old now, you have problems like this shoulder. But, I mean, if you're just going to pose it on a shelf, I think it looks cool. I don't have a problem with it. And you can give him, you know, whatever accessories you want. Give him the gun, give him the hammer, give him the riot shield. He definitely comes decked out. So yeah, pretty cool. Alright, so getting into the transformation, again, if you've handled Bulkhead, it's exactly the same because there's absolutely no difference, but it's been a while, so we'll get into it. You're going to kind of unhook the shoulders if they haven't already unhooked themselves already, and then you can lift this up. This big translucent piece was pegged in right here, so you unhook it from that, and then you can kind of lift this all up like so. You want to kind of bring the head down so that it can fit into that space, because then there's another piece under here that you need to flip up and fill into this space, so that closes up the roof gap there. Then we are going to bring the arms down, straighten them up like this. Actually, before I do that, you have to unhook this piece, and then this whole section will lift up. You can kind of see that there's a little cutout there, so that lifts up like that. Okay, that should give us the room to do what we need to do. Bring these down, and they will peg into each other, like so. Then you just fold these back, and then bring this down over top, like that. And then you can push these down, and these will fold out and peg in. I really don't know what purpose these serve. I guess it's to make it look like it has more wheels on his back in robot mode. I still don't. I mean, I didn't understand it with Bulkhead. I don't understand it now. But anyway, those go and peg into the sides there like that. Then you're going to come to the legs. You're going to bend them at the knee like that. Lift this panel open on the back of the leg. And then these little gas canister things will pop out like this, and then you can close that back up, and then these will peg in. There is a little, let me get this out of the way, there's a little slot right there that these will peg into. So you need to bend at the knee, and then this will peg in to the side of the thigh like that. Then you can close this up and then flip this whole thing up and peg that in as well. Going to repeat that whole process over here with this leg. So flip this out, spin it around on the ball joint, drop it down, close it up, close up the toe or heel, pop that in there, bend this at the knee, and then pop that in, and then you can bring these together. Mine doesn't like to hold together all that well. We'll see how this goes. This will push up, and then this all just kind of collapses against this like this. And then there are two little tabs, and I'll bring this back down so you can see. There's a tab there. Oh, I just noticed that. Interesting. So, mine doesn't have a tab over here. And that's probably why it wasn't holding together. I don't know if that's, I'll have to check Bulkhead. I don't know if that's a defect. I would assume it is, because there's a tab slot right there that it's supposed to go into. I mean, it holds together enough on just the one. But yeah, definitely did not notice that until just now. So that's interesting. Alright, this should be pegged together. So there you go. That's that. Now the cool thing about this, you can take these weapons and you can store them in here, which I think is pretty cool. So you can kind of leave them in there like that, and then you can take this piece and put this back on here, and then this will fold down and store. I probably don't have the wrecking ball piece connected in there correctly, but it's fine. We'll just take it out. You can store them both in there though. Okay. You're really giving me the business over here. I know you can store these in here. Maybe I have them in here wrong. I think you might actually peg this in like this. No, that can't be right. Well, in any case, you can store them in there. I'll have to refer to the directions in a moment, but These peg in on the sides. There's little tabs right there. And there you go. There is breakdown in vehicle mode. Okay, so I double checked my directions, and you can, let me open this up again and flip this out. So the way this works is you take this, and this pegs in on here on the bottom. You don't use any of these. You think you would use these connectors here on the sides, but you don't use the two pegs. And then this one pegs in like this. And I guess maybe that helps keep the legs together as well. And then this will close up. So you can store both of those in there. I knew you could. So that's kind of cool. You can also kind of like use the legs to come down. Like if you wanted to pretend it was like a ramp leading into the back. Like if you had smaller characters that you wanted to put inside there if you left that open. So that's kind of neat as well. And then the directions tell you to just take the... You can either peg this on here or you can connect it to this and just put the hammer on the side. So, pretty cool little vehicle mode. Now, I did check my bulkhead, and they are both supposed to have those pegs, so mine's just deformed. I don't know what happened there, but that's probably why it wasn't pegging in, because there was no peg there. So, that's interesting. But luckily, you know, everything else kind of, between the top piece here and the other connection, it all holds together well enough, so I don't really have an issue, but rolls decently. You got that new faction symbol painted here on each side, as well as the Decepticon symbol done pretty sharply in purple and silver there on each side. Kind of wish it was on the front. Not a big deal. Don't know why they decided to do it on the sides, but yeah, overall, it's exactly the same as Bulkhead, just in a different color scheme, especially in this mode because you don't even see the Decepticon head. So, but it's a decent little vehicle mode, and I think it works because this is pretty close to what Breakdown's original vehicle mode was. It was kind of a long, thin truck, and this very much resembles that, so I think that this works. Alright, let's move on to Windsweeper. It's a fairly simplistic color scheme, but I think it works, and like I said, it's definitely pretty much on par with that original G1 toy. Definitely a lot more color here for the wings in the vehicle mode, which we'll see a little bit more later on. If you want to bend these back or put these at like a 45-degree angle, something like that, you absolutely can. But yeah, I think he works. Let's do a quick comparison here with Needle Nose. Again, as you can see, it is just painted differently. There is absolutely no difference in molding, except for the new head. So nothing changed or remolded. Again, I don't think it really needs to. I think it's fine that they just repainted it. It's a good repaint. I think they did a pretty nice job. And giving us the Target Masters in silver, I think was smart to kind of go along with the TriggerCon aesthetic. Now, the other thing is, we did have one TriggerCon previously in Crankcase, and unfortunately, he did not get the same treatment. The best they could do was put these tiny little guns here in the back, because the original toy, that's where his, spring-loaded guns flipped out over the shoulder. And, they tried to put in this little reference back here, and they did what they could. But, I mean, it's neat that we have two TriggerCons. We do know Ruckus is coming in another, assortment or some kind of collection. I think maybe also for Amazon. I can't remember. But he's also coming, so we'll have all three Decepticon TriggerCons by the end, even though we don't have any for the Autobots, but that seems to be how they like to do things, because I still don't have all the regular Autobot Target Masters, although we know Sure Shot is coming, or at least they say he's coming. I've been patiently waiting. Getting off topic. So anyway, I think it's neat that we have two of these here. I wish that he could have gotten something, even if they had just done his weapons in silver as well. But he just kind of got, the same weapons that he's had since he's been Skids, or I should say, since this mold has been Skids. Although this piece, I guess, is new. I don't know. I think this is a better execution of a TriggerCon than Crankcase, but I'm still happy to have, 2 out of the 3. So just wanted to show that off real quick. Now we'll take a quick look at the two Target Master partners before we dive into Windsweeper, because there's really not much going on with them. They are all painted in silver. And they have the one hinge to hide the barrel. So again, they left the handle unpainted, which I think was a smart move. And he is just all done in silver. He does have a different color for the face. It is slightly different. They painted the face and the visor there, which I appreciate, because they really could have just completely bathed this in silver. But they at least gave the face and the visor a different color scheme, and I think that's all it really needs. And then we have the second one over here. Again, just flipping this back. And then similar situation here where they just painted the face a different color. So if you want to pretend they're Target Masters, you can. If you want to ignore that and just pretend that they're shiny TriggerCon guns, you can do that as well. But there are the two little accessories. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at Windsweeper here. If you've handled Needle Nose, it's exactly the same. I think the head looks really good, though. I think they did a really nice job. That's been really nicely molded. I love the orange for the face with the yellow eyes. That just really pops. The silver here on the chest looks great. That Decepticon symbol looks really nice. Head can move up and down slightly on the ball joint. Certainly turn side to side, no problem. Even tilt side to side a little bit on that ball joint. You have the swivel here in the shoulder as well as the hinge. You have the bicep swivel. You have double jointed elbows for transformation, but hey, gives you double jointed elbows for articulation as well. Got a wrist swivel. Got a kind of limited waist swivel. It can do it, but you start to hit into the backpack and things, and that's quite the backpack. So not going to get much out of the waist swivel, but it is present. Kick very far forward. Kick very far out to the side. Again, you would be able to kick forward if not for the backpack. Thigh swivel. Knees are good. Really, really good. Over 90 degrees there, I'd say. Ankle tilt. And a lot of these joints are used for transformation, which is why you're getting so much articulation, because you're getting, you know, full all the way down with the toe, front to back, as well as the ankle tilt. This piece keeps coming unpegged, though. But yeah, I thought Needle Nose was a good enough mold, and I think this is a really nice repaint. I think this one actually makes the most sense because Needle Nose and Windsweeper actually were like the same kind of jet and looked pretty similar. So I think that this was an absolute no-brainer repaint. And I think it was pretty successful. I like it quite a bit. I'm really happy with this one. Let's go ahead and get into transformation. So transformation is really simple, exactly the same as Needle Nose if you're familiar with that, but you put these out to the side. You have a little tab here on the forearm, which is going to tab into this spot right below the connection port there on the shoulder, and that's what you're using the double jointed elbows for. So just go ahead and do that. Do the same over here. You're going to open up this chest area. This is going to go up. The head's going to swivel down. This is going to pop all the way up. On this obvious hinge right here, these are going to come in like so. Then you're going to close this back up. And that will peg into the arms now that they are in the correct area. We are going to detach this. This whole backpack section is going to just kind of pop away, and you can see two hinges there. Just leave it about like that for now, just so you have clearance when we're doing what we need to do with the legs. So turn them inside. You're going to stand up the toes or feet, and then these are actually going to just come all the way in. This tab here is going to like lightly rest in this channel right there. It doesn't like snap in or peg in, but it just kind of rests there. So pop that there. Do the same with this one. And then these should kind of, not really tab together, but they'll go next to each other. So that way when you do rock this back, it will peg in. And I know it's going to be hard to see, but there are two tab slots right there and there. So this will rock back. Tab that all together. Put the wings down. And it just kind of like loosely tabs in. It's not super tight, but it's tight enough that it keeps it together. And then this will just unhook and rock forward and drop down right there. And there we go. We have Windsweeper in vehicle mode. I think he looks pretty great. I mean, the wings are really nicely painted. You have all this purple and silver, very metallic sheen to it. I love that. Got the new faction symbol there. Kind of wish they were just Decepticon symbols since this is a G1 character, and you know, this new faction they made up is for whatever fiction they have going. But if you just want a G1 Windsweeper, you know, he wouldn't have those. I guess you could buy stickers and put them over if you wanted to do something like that. But overall, yeah, good color scheme, nice paint applications, looks really sharp, holds together fairly well. And then we can take his TriggerCon guns here and just peg them in underneath the wings, like so. Flip the barrel out and peg that in. And there we go. Totally works. Looks great. I like it. Very good use of this mold. I think out of the two, this is probably the more successful repaint. I think this one really works. I think this is a pretty good 2-pack. I definitely think Windsweeper is probably the more successful out of the two repaints. I really like how this one came out. I think it totally made sense to reuse this mold for Windsweeper because it really did kind of look like this mold, the original G1 toy, so I think that was a good association. The paint scheme looks good. Yes, you know, there's a lot of tan, and that's kind of a more subdued color scheme, but it works. I think the new head sculpt looks great. I think repainting the two Target Masters in silver really worked as well, and just overall, I'm pretty happy with that one. Now, that's not to say there's anything particularly wrong with Breakdown. It's just an older mold at this point. You know, we're coming up on, what, 3 years ago, I guess, at this point, which, trust me, there are older molds, Siege Megatron, that get reused all the time. But in any case, I think this one makes sense. I mean, you know, Breakdown has that association with Bulkhead. They're kind of rivals on the show. It makes sense for them to both have this larger body mold. And I think it works. I think the head sculpt looks pretty good. I really like the color scheme. And I think the color scheme of these two characters complement each other. You have the dark blue, the maroon, the tan. It just kind of works. I don't know. I like everything about that. The colors really pop for me. So, yeah, I think it's a fun 2-pack. I definitely think it's worth checking out. You know, I understand if maybe you're excited about one more than the other. But at the end of the day, I think they both came out pretty good. With the exception of my Breakdown having that weird defect on the oil canister or gas canister. That's weird. I don't know what that's about. But like I said, luckily it's not a big issue because it still holds together fairly well in vehicle mode. Anyway, I think this is a really fun 2-pack. Definitely worth checking out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.